Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ. You're here on the home of the Slightly Above Average Ship Review. Got a match for you today. Is this Islands of Ice? It's a domination match. We're down here. We are in, I don't want to mispronounce this guy's name, the Lambros Katsonis, who was a Greek privateer of the 18th century, would ultimately sail under the Russian flag with the rank of colonel. Maybe they didn't use naval ranks back then. He became a knight of the Russian Empire and was awarded the Order of St. George, which was the highest military decoration of the Russian Federation. All right, so what you're seeing here is got a really questionable design history, the way it appears in the game. You have 3 turrets to the front, kind of a wing turret formation, 3 individual turrets to the rear. It is definitely a gunboat, low damage torpedoes. You've got an 8-kilometer range radar. It just goes for only 10 seconds. I just don't know how the real world ship that this is supposed to be ended up being a destroyer with a wing turret configuration. I don't understand. Maybe somebody who's a little more knowledgeable, or you've taken a lot of psychedelic drugs, could tell me how a town class cruiser that was never delivered due to the outbreak of World War I ended up being the Katsonis, because the HMS Chester is this ship. It's the Katsonis. It says it was originally ordered for the Greek Navy in 1914 and was to be named Lambros Katsonis. And I'm looking at the stats. It's a light cruiser. It has 10 140 millimeter guns, and it has 2 torpedo tubes. And so Wargaming must have taken lots of creative license to turn this into a destroyer. Now, that being said, I do like the Katsonis. I think out of all of the gunboat destroyers out there, and I love my Russian gunboats, I do, but I think the final form here is one of the most effective. A, it only shoots HEs. You never have to worry about shell switching. B, the torps are really low damage, so you're just going to take what you can get from them. You've got radar to help spot ships. If you're using the right commander, which is Jerzy Swirsky, then you're going to get a little bit of a benefit from that as well. And at the end of the day, I think it's a solid ship. But that being said, I just don't see how a town class cruiser, which exists in the game, is suddenly miniaturized into this little destroyer. And we went from 10 guns to 6 guns with no basis in reality. Now, clearly, they've done this before, because Paolo Emilio, based on my research, is an Italian light cruiser. I believe the Scipio Africanus class. Boy, I am lucky to have remembered that. And so, yeah, they've done that before. There are some cruisers that were battleships when they first came out in the lower tiers. Yes, that happened too, but we're talking about, I don't think the town class cruisers had this kind of triple turret at the bow arrangement, at least not that I can remember. Going from 10 guns to 6 guns with no explanation of how. I just don't see how you legitimately say with a straight face that the HMS Chester is really a 6-gun destroyer and feel cool with that, because it certainly has the concealment of a destroyer. You can see here we strayed a little close to the Navrin. We did get engaged by the secondaries. So we're going to turn and we're going to get the torps out. By the way, the torp launchers, there's one quad launcher to each side of the ship. So it is not like you have 2 quad launchers that can both shoot to the same side. No, one is for one side and one is to the other. And again, that's a change that I really do like, aside from the mental gymnastics therein. They couldn't name any other ship the Katsonis because all the other ships named Katsonis were submarines, pardon me. They were submarines. We don't have submarines yet, so in theory, none of those could have been Katsonis. So again, I'm struggling on how to think the HMS Chester turned into a destroyer with less guns. I just don't. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand. Town class ships. Let me see if I can find one in the game. Probably not. Brisbane. Brisbane's a town class ship. So, I mean, this is the same class as the Brisbane in reality. So, if you think this and the Brisbane are interchangeable, even if you took lots of drugs, I don't know. All right, anyway, here is our showdown with the Shimakaze. We're going to torpedo them. Our turrets are very slowly turning. And I think actually he does not choose to engage me here. So instead I'm still sizing up the Navarin for torps. But yeah, because he hid in his smoke screen, we're just going to let those torpedoes run. And we will revisit that a little bit later. All right, all these open tabs. So yes, there's no ship history as the Katsonis to discuss. Lambros Katsonis has a nice looking moustache. And here on the WOW's wiki, shell velocity 840 meters per second, shell weight 39.9 kilos, max dispersion 93 meters. So that is the gun stats. All right, here we snuck into Alpha. We're going to get our second solo base cap here. Raise your hand if you remember my Kraken damage challenge. There's no Kraken in this match, but we came close. Let's put it that way. You know what I'm talking about. Don't spoil it for everybody else. And if you haven't watched the Kraken damage challenge video, go seek that out on my channel for some pure enjoyment. We are going to launch torpedoes into the water. They are aimed at GK. They are going to miss GK because he is moving still. You know, I got to say, I think that GK commander is a pretty smart driver. He managed to avoid several torpedo shots I put at him. So he was definitely manipulating his speed and heading during this match. So that is what all battleship players should be doing in order to avoid torpedoes. All right, second solo base cap in the books. We got some cap defended flags against Navarin. Just 4 main battery strikes to this point. And I'm going to send some more torpedoes into the gap. Not necessarily aimed at anybody, but just hoping that the Shimakaze would blunder into them, perhaps. We have all our turrets on target. I thought right here about shooting, but it's a good thing I didn't. Most of those would have hit the island and done no damage to anything but my ego. All right, the blue team is winning. We have a commanding lead. There is the Shimakaze, salvo number 1. I don't have a torp reload. Salvo number 2, his torps are in the water. Look at this dodge, folks. Salvo number 3 with the front guns. Salvo number 4 with the front guns. What is more embarrassing for one of the best torpedo boats in the game to get torpedoed by a gunboat with some of the worst torpedoes in the game? I don't know, but it just happened there. And now, unfortunately, we're detected. I'm trying to get my smoke screen up and come to a halt. But Yamato is going to end our lives with the salvo right here. And we are dead. That's an interesting looking logo. It looks like a Easter egg that's pretty happy about its situation, even though it's 2 different colors. All right, so let me see if Katsonis is in WoW's builds yet, just to give you an idea of what real players are achieving in this ship, of which we are not achieving, but we're going to look anyway. Tier 8. Lambros Katsonis. Opa. All right, 6 records were submitted. All of them were much better than mine. Holy cow. A guy named Tiger T7942. 222,224 total damage. Oh, I gotta admit, I love this one. A guy named BI_FRA submitted a damage record of 0. So, so in theory, I would have a better damage record than that guy. But that's about it. All right, look at all those torpedoes heading towards the GK in the distance. I don't think they're doing any damage. We are going to make our way over there eventually. I did want to look at one thing here in the peer comparison. We're going to mess around. HEDPM sounds like a great one. And we're going to get rid of everything else. All right, HEDPM, number 1, AM Sumner, 205K, Kitakazi, 205K, Schmaland, 200,000, Hayate, 193,500, and then Lambros Katsonis, 189,474, just in front of Lushun. Right here, we are on board with Snipe Mike, who is part of the UN World of Warships team. Of course, he gets killed, but he does get torpedoes off and finishes off the match. All right, here we are, my favorite screen, the victory screen. It's almost embarrassing saying these numbers. 17,019 total damage, 19 main battery hits, 1 torpedo strike, 1 kill, 1 flood, 3 cap defended flags, and 2 solo base caps. We ended up with 265,307 silver, 5,800 ship XP, 6,100 commander XP, likely on the basis of the cap defended flags and the solo base caps. Here we are at the top of the board. No medals, 1 big kill, 2521 base XP, leading the way for the blue team in our victory. So look at that. You can do under 20k damage and still get over 2500 base XP and still lead the way for your team. Fear not, for I am with you. All right. We're going to go back to the port here after this brief message from Ouija. Upgrades, we went with aiming system mod 1. Steering gears mod 2. Concealment system mod 1. And main battery mod 3. As you can see, the Katsonis is fully upgraded. That's not a cruiser, man. All right, HE shells only on this ship, just like all the other ones that precede it. 2 charges of the smoke generator, 3 charges of the engine boost. You can exchange that for 3 charges of DFA, and I would never make that exchange. We should get an extra smoke. I'll tell you why later in this review. And 3 charges of a very short duration, 10-second, 8-kilometer radar. We were using the rare battle booster for movement speed and cooldown time, the standard permanent camouflage, and the early adopter flag. Moving on to the specs, 20,300 hit points with our build. We got those 6 140mm guns, 11-kilometer firing range, 3.2 second reload, 12.9 second turn time with our build. HE shells 2114 max damage with a 10% fire chance. All right, moving on to the torpedoes. As discussed, 1 quad launcher on each side of the ship. They reload every 75 seconds. Max damage 10,700. They have a 9-kilometer range at 80 knots. They are fast. And the detectability is 1,600 meters. You can see already why I advise you not to build into the AA defense, because it's terrible. Your best AA and longest reaching AA are these abysmal 76.2 millimeter 50 Mark 22 twin emplacements that do 42 damage per second with a 4-kilometer range. All right, Katsonis is fast, 43.3 knots in the water, 720 meter turning circle, 4-second rudder shift time with our build, and concealment 5.2 in the surface, 3 kilometers from the air, 2.9 when firing from smoke. Take a look at the stats. 7 matches, 5 wins, 4 defeats. or 2 defeats. I think I won my first 4 games in the ship. We're averaging 0.7 kills and 30k damage per game. I'm sure the last game didn't help very much. Our highest battle achievements, 2 kills, 83k damage. The 2500 base XP match is the match you just watched. Nothing special here. Moving on to the somewhat incorrect screen. Yes, the Katsonis is fast. Yes, it can only shoot HE. This should be low damage torpedoes, not low range torpedoes. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, here is the commander, fully maxed for your pleasure, Jerzy Swirsky. Base trait reduces the sea detectability by 4%. We've got Eric Bay for another 4% concealment, and Dartige Dufournet for HE shell damage. In row 1, Observant Rage. In row 2, Look at Me Now. We switched it up in row 3 with Twist and Track. Row 4, the unique skill Fox Flare. That's why I think you should get an extra smoke generator charge. It claims the radar duration will match the smoke generator action time if the latter is longer. I don't think I believe that, but whatever. And yeah, the legendary skill is Unstoppable. All right, I must have been talking about Fox Flare some more, saying that I don't think we used it very much in that match. Anyway, that's Katsonis. Like, comment, subscribe down below. Love to hear what you think about the ship. Or snide comments on my game. Hey, it's 25k base XP. That counts. See you next time, everybody. 2500 base XP. What am I talking about?